Alright guys, what's up? This is Ryan from Elevate Security. Now, in this video I wanted to go back to talking more about the OSCP, and because I know a lot of my viewers on this channel are pursuing that and interested in that. And I will say, even if you are a newer viewer, if you're on the fence about joining security, or maybe it's something that you have a passing interest in, you're thinking maybe down the line, I will say that this is still going to benefit you, because the OSCP is a very good certification to get. It is a little bit more advanced. I mean, still entry level, I would say, but a little bit more advanced entry. But if you can get that and pair it with some experience, then you're almost, I mean, there's never guaranteed, but you're pretty much guaranteed. Like, let's be honest here, you're gonna get a job in the field of security, especially as high demand as it is, and they're looking for people to fill that position. That's part of the reason that I created this channel, right? To help you guys in that regard. So what I wanted to talk about particularly is a question that I certainly had when I first started down this journey of OSCP, and I'm sure a lot of you guys might be wondering as well, is what level of scripting do you need to know to succeed on OSCP, right? How good do you have to be at coding? So in regards to this question, I would say that it's one of those things where you don't need to be some script wizard, some Python wizard in order to be successful on it, pass it, or anything like that. But I will say, it's one of those things that the more proficiency you have at it, the easier your life becomes, right? You certainly don't need to be like developer level or anything, but time is of the essence on the OSCP. Now, it might be kind of hard to wrap your head around that, because you know that you have 24 hours on the exam in order to hack 5 boxes, and you might feel like that is a lot of time, but the reality is those 24 hours, when you factor in eating and sleeping and taking breaks or rabbit holes, certainly. I have a whole series on how to avoid some of those. Check that out if you haven't and you're interested. But when you factor in all these things, you really don't have as much time as you originally thought you had, so it becomes a lot more difficult, and anything you can do to save time is going to exponentially increase your chances for success. So the way scripting, coding fits in on this exam is if you're able to automate your recon enumeration, your exploits. Certainly there's a lot of exploits on the OSCP that you need to modify, and if you can't recode it all, then you're not even going to be able to hack some of these boxes. But I'm really speaking more so to scripting, like basically, if you don't know any scripting at all, it is possible, but you're going to need to know, you're going to have to know at least some coding, and it's really not that advanced for most of the exploitation. A lot of the exploitation is like, okay, let me change the target IP address, let me delete this payload they have here, this what's it called, this shell code, and let me generate my own shell code. Something I'll show in a future video, but it's really as simple as that. Let me change the port, and once you change like certain parameters like that, then you're usually good to go. Sometimes it's a little bit more advanced tweaking you need to do, but not really too much more than that. So you don't have to know. You'll be editing, yeah, you'll be editing Perl scripts, you'll be editing C code, you'll be editing Ruby perhaps. Well, normally the Ruby stuff's Metasploit, so you don't have to worry. You just do that through Metasploit. Python, certainly. But really, you don't need to know too much about those languages. Python's going to be your best friend. Of course, you could do it through Ruby or Perl if you wanted to, but I mean, it's 2020, right? I think Python is by far the dominant in the market as far as what most security people are using nowadays. So honestly, if you're new to this stuff to start, learn some Python, learn how to automate stuff, right? Learn how to take the tasks that you do all the time and write a Python script to do it for you in a few lines of code, and boom, right? That's gonna go a really long way. So one of the ways that, I mean, let me just give you an example, right? How I can automate stuff, right? You know, also automating with bash is going to help a lot too, running bash scripts. Let me just give you a quick example of how I utilize these things to make my life easier, right? We'll start with bash. So with bash scripting, what I did was, you know, all the time, yeah, you know, you enter the environment, right? You enter the exam, you got these 5 boxes here, and let's say 3 of them have, let's say you want to find the low-hanging fruit first, right? Let's say there's like 5 of them. What I would do is I would look for some low-hanging fruit, you know, look for which ones have, you know, the top 20 ports, right? The 20 most common ports. I would, because I don't want to sit there and have to run the default scan, the default Nmap scan on all 5 servers and wait for them to complete. This is going to take way too long. I want to quickly find like what ports I can start looking at, and then in the background I'll run the longer, more time intensive stuff, right? So the way that I would handle that is I would run an Nmap scan on like the top, let's say for example, say top 25 ports or something on all 5 of those. That will complete really fast. And then in order to sift through that output, I'll use the greppable format, and I'll go through and I'll use some bash scripting to grep for certain open ports, find what's open, and then quickly just go from there, right? Now, I mean, if you're in the OSCP labs, what you can do is you can look for everything running SMB, and you can script through that in bash and do all that, and it saves you a lot of time, right? So using the grep command for sure is going to be huge, but yeah, just writing bash scripts to do stuff. If you guys watched one of my really old videos, the reconnoiter tool, that is a script that someone wrote in Python. Now you can automate your recon by writing Python or bash or whatever language you want to use, scripts in order to automate a lot of that stuff. So one press of a button, it does all the scanning for you, and then you don't have to worry about, okay, well, let's see, I ran this short Nmap, now let me run the full, and let me run UDP, and let me, you know, you don't have to worry about any of that. You just fire it off and forget it. So yeah, scripting, very useful in the OSCP, but it's one of those things that, like, your mileage varies pretty much. Like, you don't have to know, you don't have to be a wizard at it, but the better you are, you will be rewarded for that. So I would say just learn it out on an as-needed basis, like I talked about in previous videos. That's pretty much the way to go with this. And as you do this more, as you become more familiar with this stuff, you're just going to be that much more proficient at it, and of course that's going to pay off for you, certainly on the OSCP, but also on the job, because there's been a lot of real-world scenarios where I had to, you know, say you have a ton of systems and you got to find out, you know, what has this port or that port open, or what version of this is running. Scripts are the way to go. Fire it off and let it do the work. That's what IT and security is all about, right? Is just being efficient, rather than, why work hard when you can have the script work hard for you? That's pretty much the idea behind it. But yeah, lazy sysadmin stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much the concept behind it, and that's pretty much how I would answer the question of how much scripting do you need for OSCP. So yeah, keep learning, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know if there's any comments or questions down in the section below, and I will see you as always next time.